Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. And we are back again with another guest. You know, my co-host over there is Greg.
Hello.
And today we have Willem here with us, and we're going to find out all about what he does. And just a reminder to put all your questions into the comments, and we will read them and answer them as we are live. Okay? Thank you. So Willem, welcome. Thanks for coming on here and talking to us today. Tell us what you do and how long you've been doing it.
Sure. Well, thank you, Rafia. I appreciate it. And basically, I work for a company called Synergy Spaces.
Okay.
And the easy thing to tell folks that we do is build professional recording studios and custom residential theaters. And the other piece of that equation that I love to get into in this type of situation is that we also build architectural acoustics. And what that means basically is that you can warm any space up in a house, a restaurant, and there's ways to measure that scientifically.
Okay. I'm lost, but go ahead. Keep going.
All right. Oh, good.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I've got 1 out of 2. I don't know how many we have out there. But I'll go to this. This is the example I like to use a lot as far as acoustics. We've all been in that restaurant where we're straining to hear each other.
Ah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
We've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got all the other conversations going on, and there's the music going, and the plates are clanging, and you leave that restaurant with what's called listener fatigue, or you're tired or exhausted.
Okay.
And you should be energized from the company you had and the fun get-together.
Right, right.
And what's going on there is essentially your brain is taking in all those different signals and has to process which one is important.
And it kind of goes into a sensory overload.
Absolutely. And basically you've got cortisol flowing in your body, and that's what creates this whole tiredness that we all experience in that environment.
And anything louder than you that's around you is going to be annoying, to say the least.
Absolutely.
Unless you go to a concert, yeah. I mean, but in a restaurant, you don't want that. But go ahead.
Right. And so basically that concept can be measured in a value, and you can basically, like, we have clients who are remodeling their homes, and they have us look at the plans and make recommendations and suggestions for what they can do to their kitchen, their offices, the rec room, all different pieces of the house, even hallways.
Okay.
Yeah.
To make it more acceptable for your ears, or
your ears and your whole body, to be honest. There's this wave of wellness that's going on.
Okay.
And a lot of people speak about light, air, and water. And acoustics is in the mix, but it's not up at the front. But I think we can almost all say we've been in a place where we were comfortable. And this is the type of space where we measure. It's called a T60 value or an RT60 value. And if you can have that space, and hopefully I'm keeping you.
You are. Oh yeah, I'm with you now.
Okay. So if you get the value of that space to like a 0.6 or 0.5,
okay,
we know that the reverberations in that room are basically going to be in a place where your body is comfortable.
So it's not soundproofing.
No, there's, and that's a really good question because, and I'll explain this for everybody
I
out
think a
there.
lot of people might think that's what it is. But
Yeah, there's, like, when we build a professional recording studio or level 3 theater in someone's home, there's really 4 pieces of the puzzle to follow. And the first one is design. So that gets everybody on the same page, literally and figuratively, and we all know what the goal is. Then when we actually start building it, that second step is the isolation or soundproofing.
okay,
And that is so you don't hear the fire engine driving by outside. It's also so
it's limited to the space you're in.
Well, you want to keep the outside world out,
Okay,
but you also want to keep the inside world in.
okay,
And so, like, if little Johnny's gaming on his video games and explosions are going off, you don't want grandma's bed shaking around on the second floor. But once you've completed that step, you still have a reverberative box with a high T60 value.
okay,
And to say it out loud, hard surfaces like drywall, glass, stone, wood, they're all highly reflective, and they amplify and duplicate sound.
Sound bounces off.
Okay.
So that's why, back to that restaurant idea, it's all hard surfaces pretty much. You're getting all the second and third and fourth reflections of all those conversations. So it gets worse before it gets better.
Gotcha.
You still with me?
I'm with you.
All right, so step
with you.
3 is actually acoustically treating that space.
Okay.
And you do that with various types of acoustic treatments that absorb those sound waves so they can't keep bouncing around as they try to die out.
So what kind of equipment is it? Insulation?
Right.
Well, I mean, that's the only one thing I could think of.
Sure. So insulation I would put up in that category 2,
Okay.
where to go to actual scientific measurements, the category 2, there's one called STC, which is sound transmission class.
Okay.
And that's how sound gets across a barrier,
Okay.
like through a wall. So insulation, and there's a type of drywall called quiet rock. Those are all to try to isolate or soundproof that space.
Okay.
And then the treatments are measured in something called, my gosh, NRC, thank you. And those NRC values are measuring the treatments themselves that are being put in the space.
Okay.
And I measure the room in what I was saying, that T60 value. And again, to pull it back for an average layperson.
Sounds very scientific.
Like for, yeah.
Yeah, so basically step 3 is you reducing the amount of hard surfaces in that space.
Okay.
And by doing that, you make it comfortable. You lower that T60 value. You're only hearing the things that you want to hear.
Okay.
And you're able to, I mean, it's proven, you're able to focus better. The speech intelligibility, that's a word that, kind of a buzzword that's thrown around nowadays, because even in our classrooms around the United States, they say they have 75% speech intelligibility.
Okay.
And that means all the students sitting in those classrooms only hear 3 out of every 4 words.
Really?
And if you think about it, if we were having this conversation and just hearing 3 of 4 words, we'd be having some communication problems.
Yeah.
Good point.
So they're only hearing that because there's so much other
It's
noise around? Or?
Well, the makeup of the classrooms, I mean, it's obviously a general term because different classrooms are going to be measured differently.
But the average.
But the average, in general, the easiest way to say it is like drywall boxes. They're all hard surfaces, and so it's hard, especially when you have other people speaking, to get clarity.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
So is this, first of all, is this your business? Is this your own business?
It's not my own business.
It's
no.
something, it's another company that you work for.
It's a company I was recruited into,
Okay.
about 5-6 years ago or so.
So what kind of background does one need to do the job that you're doing?
It's a great question. I was previously in sustainability and energy efficiency, and in this position, essentially, we wear a lot of different hats. I said how we do the recording studios and the custom theaters, and that's one aspect of the projects.
Okay.
Really, for me, it's communicating and education on what's possible.
Okay.
Because if I use that restaurant example, we've all been able to look at the menu and say, "Oh, that looks good. That looks great. That not so much." Because our palates all get trained since we're little kids on what we like and don't like. But our ears, as lay people, and even some of the people that sell speaker equipment and things like that, are never trained on what's possible or what we accept.
Okay.
So we just accept whatever environment we're thrown into. So we accept that loud restaurant. And we don't know that it could be better or a comfortable space because no one really thinks in these terms of acoustics.
It's like buying set of headphones and you find out years later a better one, and all of a sudden you've been missing out for a really long time.
Right, exactly. And what's really interesting to me is how palpable the difference is. And essentially, I'll put that into, I received a handwritten note. There was a woman up in Malibu who we had built a custom theater for in her house.
Wow.
And I received this handwritten note, and it said, "Thank you for building my favorite room in our house. I not only go in there to watch movies, but I go in there to do my yoga. I go in there to read, to relax, and re-energize." And what she was really saying to me was, thank you for making the T60 value in this room something that's compatible and peaceful with the human body.
Yeah, so you're making the room be more comfortable for everybody to exist in. If you go to a loud restaurant like we have been talking about, next time you want to go somewhere and meet a friend and you want to catch up, you probably won't go back to that really loud restaurant
And
because
you probably won't catch up.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah, so
You mentioned 4. Did you mention step 4?
I didn't mention step 4 yet. Thank you.
Step 3.
and I do have a question already here.
Sure. All right. We'll put a pin in
Thank
step
you
4.
everyone who's watching. I
We'll
appreciate
get
it.
there.
Hi to Beverly, Vicky, and let's see. We have a question from Vicky. It says, so you make the environment more sound friendly or lights as well. What does that exactly involve that you do?
Great question. And there's different ways to achieve that actually. So one of the types of elements we use is called acoustic plaster. And we've been in the concert halls, or some people have, where you see these nice plasters with these great turns and things. And acoustic plaster is very similar, except it is acoustically transparent. So sound waves can get through it. And then you have, everything comes back to the acoustic treatments that absorb those sound waves or those reflections, those reverberations. That's going to be at the base of everything we speak about, of making a room comfortable.
Okay.
So we just did a church sanctuary down in Los Alamitos. So the entire sanctuary ceiling is acoustic plaster. And churches, I mean, that's a subcategory for down the road, because there you have the spoken word
And music.
and the organ. So there's different ways you want to attack that specific problem. But in general, acoustic plaster I call one of the drywall alternatives. So even the ceiling here in the kitchen that I'm looking at, that actually could be acoustic plaster. Another similar idea to answer that question is what I call fabric and treatments. And a lot of us think of the fabric that's in, when we go into a movie theater, it's usually a fabric wall.
Okay.
Right.
And that fabric is also acoustically transparent. And so what's behind it are all the acoustic treatments that you don't see. But that's what basically makes that comfortable-esque feeling in there. And then just a third example is what I call perforated woods. I mean, a lot of people like having wood. It's a nice natural substance, and even the ceiling that I'm looking at here is wood. Well, again, it's a hard surface, so it naturally amplifies, replicates, and duplicates sound. But you can have little perforations in that wood, and again, have the treatments on the other side. So there's all sorts of different artistic choices or aesthetic choices that can be made where you attain that same goal.
So are you doing mostly residential, or are you doing both residential and commercial?
It's a great question. We are doing, I'd say, 80% residential.
Okay.
Yeah, and then probably about 20%
Commercial.
commercial. Yeah.
And your commercial ones are the you've mentioned theaters, right? And
Well, the theaters are more residential.
the in-house, okay.
Yeah.
And I imagine since COVID, business has been booming. So,
What-
I mean,
What's really been interesting is the podcast rooms.
oh, yeah.
So I
Didn't
say,
even think about that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
Yeah.
so I say theaters, but we actually build all sorts of specialty spaces. So we've actually built video gaming rooms, We've built golf simulator rooms. We've built nurseries, and there are folks that are building actually podcast rooms in their homes.
I was just going to ask that. Okay.
So,
That's great.
So step 4, let's do this. So repeat step 1, 2, and 3 real quick. And
Okay.
Hit 4.
You got it. So, and this is when you're building like a high-level theater, custom theater, or recording studio. But step 1 is the design. Step 2 is the isolation or soundproofing.
Okay.
Step 3 is the acoustic treatments.
Got it.
And a lot of people, again, conflate those two, but they're really two separate categories.
Different things.
And then step 4, drum roll please, is the finishes of the room. So that's everything that you see in the room, basically the drapes, curtains, fabric, sconces, seats, carpet, and all those can have an effect on how the sound plays in that room, but it's not going to be to the degree of what you've done in step 3.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Much better than steps complete. But again, going back to, did business increase after COVID? Because I think more and more people are wanting those private rooms at home now versus going with, I mean, when theaters are closing, it's not boding well for that industry.
Right. This is great because these are all great questions.
Go ahead.
So we have had a fairly steady drumbeat of custom theaters in homes. We are in Los Angeles.
Sure.
We do go around the nation, so we actually have a couple going right now in Silicon Valley area, a couple in Miami, one in Virginia, and one in Idaho, and one in New York. But in general, I'd say the bigger uptick, and I'm going to take a slight turn for everybody here, because we also build panic rooms and secure environments.
Ooh.
I was actually going to ask you about panic rooms, but go ahead.
And at first someone might say, well, what the heck, what just happened? But if you think it all the way through, they're both specific assemblies.
Sure.
And it all started about 10 years ago when there was a client who wanted a combination theater and panic room, a 2-for-1.
So the same room is both?
Is both.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you think it through, if and when you had to use a panic room, why not make it comfortable?
Well, yeah, of course. And if you're in California, we don't really have basements.
Right.
So then how do you do that?
Yeah, well, typically it's a master closet.
Oh, okay.
There are homes that are large enough where there are 2 or sometimes 3 different panic rooms. But yeah, typically it's a master closet, or we've done an entire wing of like bedroom, master closet, bath, and maybe study.
Okay.
So yeah, there's different ways to attack that problem, but when you do ask about since COVID, what really changed, I'd say the uptick in those has really been the conversation piece.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot of stuff. Yeah,
Take it
is a
over.
lot.
I know. I don't mean to come
So-
on too strong.
No, you're fine.
No, this is
But
interesting.
I do have a question. When years ago, I haven't done it since COVID, we used to go to Vegas a lot to do trade shows for my business.
Sure.
And one of the things that I always had such a problem with was being in the casino. After a while, I went into a sensory overload and I couldn't hear anything except for the ding, 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 you know?
Right.
And so why are casinos not built in the way that you're describing?
Again, great question. My answer would be they should be. But there is another side of the coin
The business
Okay.
end of it. They want you to,
where
Yeah.
they want that frenzied atmosphere.
yeah, so you spend money. They don't want you having a meeting there, they want you gambling.
So there are, to that point, because even with restaurants, there's certain ones that want that high turnover volume, so they don't want it to be completely comfortable.
I see. Uh-huh.
And then
Makes sense.
yeah, so it depends kind of.
So you think that for most people, when they are in that environment for a casino, they're actually more hyped up and to stay longer and spend more money?
Well,
Because it kind of goes against what you started the conversation with, which was that you know, when it's so loud,
Right.
you kind of go into that.
No,
Yeah.
I agree. For me personally and professionally, I would want it treated. I mean, to Jeff's point,
Great.
Greg's point.
Close enough.
Yeah, Jeff set up the camera for us. Yeah, sorry. To Jeff's point.
Not a problem.
To Greg's point.
Greg's point.
I don't even remember the point. I remember something Jeff said earlier.
He answers to anything.
But go right ahead.
To Greg's point, they're different pieces of what they want to achieve in the casino. I can't speak for them.
Right.
But even with the restaurants, again, some of them want that loud.
High turnover. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
And because it is proven also, if you are comfortable, you stay longer.
And they also
True.
want to keep drinking at the bar because that's where the money is. So it was. It's a little bit different nowadays. But you have a crowded bar and a lot of noise and 6 TVs, 8 TVs going, keep you there for a while.
Right, but there's a lot of restaurants that don't want to keep you there
That's
for
right.
a long
There are.
time.
Yeah.
In fact, we went to a restaurant last week where they wanted to make sure that we would leave in an hour and a half, otherwise we couldn't get that reservation.
Yeah, which is
Right.
It's pushing
You know.
it, but yeah.
But it's because they want to.
the turnover.
the table,
If they
they
know
want-
that they
yeah.
can turn the tables over and make more money, of course they'll do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Right. So that's. I mean, I can't speak for the restaurant owners. Greg can. But if you were opening a restaurant and you wanted an environment that people were drawn to and say, oh, let's go there, that's a fantastic place. And granted, most people don't say, oh, the acoustics are great. They say, oh, that's comfortable, or I really like that place. Because conversely, with the crowded restaurant that's loud, a lot of people aren't going to leave that saying, oh, the acoustics were bad. They're going to say, oh, that was cold or uninviting, or the food was good, but...
Well, we went the other night to that pizza place, and we couldn't hear each other 2 feet across from each other. It was unbearable.
I rest my
Had
case.
to eat. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've gone to some restaurants where it's during the day and it's at lunchtime and it's that loud of music and everything, and we couldn't hear each other at one of the restaurants I can remember. Honestly, we had to ask them to, turn the volume down, and they weren't willing to really do that, and we had to ask a few times before they actually
Was
did.
it crowded?
It wasn't.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It wasn't crowded, but it was like, wow, this is so loud, I can't even, talk to the person directly across from me.
Well, where we went the
Yeah.
other night wasn't crowded either. They had like 6 or 8 people and they're playing trivia, but the guy, the microphone and the whole thing, it was just unbelievable. I mean, you could hear it down the street, and it really kind of, there's 8 of us and we can't even speak to each other. I mean, literally the person across from you.
Right, exactly. And so that's where I like to let people know that it doesn't have to be that way, and we can actually treat our own homes, again, to make them more comfortable for living in. And again, it's ultimately evidence-based. Like there's scientific studies that show how it affects the human body at a cellular level.
Absolutely. I don't think I could handle it for too long if it was like really, really loud for so long. I also, just Jeff and I here, so we have a very peaceful home environment too, because it's not really loud,
Right.
And so we don't have little kids running around. We don't have, big dogs barking, any of that kind of stuff. So we have a little dog that doesn't bark that much. So it's, it is harder for me anyway when I go out to be in a really, really loud space,
Right.
And especially if I'm trying to have a conversation with my friends or catching up with somebody I hadn't gone out to dinner with in a long time. You don't want to sit there and just listen to all this extra noise. You know, you do want to have a conversation. So is your company located in LA, or is it?
We are about 7 to 10 minutes away down the road in Culver City.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. What's the name of your company?
Yeah, it's Synergy Spaces.
Synergy Spaces.
And synergy is spelled like the word cinema, so it's
Okay.
Cinergy.
Okay, not S.
Is it a very expensive process to do just an average room? I know they're all different sizes.
Right, yeah. So it depends is the answer.
Of course.
Like if we were, because when we do it professionally, we actually put a substrate on the drywall, like a little wood frame, and then the acoustic treatments go inside that frame, and then we stretch fabric over the frame. And so that's a gorgeous, and we just did a project for the Braille Institute downtown. Well, kind of downtown, but they needed a little studio for its students. And that's what I call, again, fabric and treatments.
Right.
And it's fantastic. They love it. I love it. It's one of those rooms, again, that everybody hangs out in because you're drawn to it. It's comfortable. So we've had great feedback from that project. And so you can do the same thing to a room in your home.
Right.
That is on the more expensive side.
Okay.
So the other option then are getting into placing treatments on the walls. You can actually, like, you can print on fabrics, so you can have artwork. That's acoustic treatments. The easiest way to do it is your ceilings, because no one's touching them or anything.
Right.
So basically, even just treating ceilings in a house is a fantastic way to go. It's funny because we had this one project in Newport Coast that had a super long hallway, and they actually had done some sound work at their previous home, so they knew they wanted to attack this new home. And when they first were living there, they could hear everybody from this end of the house at this end of the house really clearly. And that's because this hallway basically sent all the sound as it duplicated and built up and came down to the other end.
Okay.
So we treated that entire hallway to basically deaden things rather than let them get down.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is the website going to be synergyspaces.com?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. I'm
absolutely.
putting it into the comments so that people will know.
And then another topic that might be of interest that I like to talk about, because we deal with all sorts of different people in these jobs. So there are architects, there are interior designers, there are general contractors, there's the owners themselves, and a lot of fingers in the pie. But a lot of those people at the front end, those architects and interior designers, think visually. And they think what it's going to look like, and what it'll look like in a magazine, and a lot of them, maybe to a small degree, but don't think of what a place will sound like once it's built.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't know until they actually move into that space and utilize it,
Of course.
what it's going to sound like. You can't hear sound on a set of plans.
Yep.
Or worse, they don't care and you build it on the cheap and just wait for you to suffer when you move in.
Right. Yeah.
And
been
also,
there.
things sound differently when you put furniture and stuff
Absolutely,
in it too.
yeah. And you walk in, you have people in there too. Yeah, everything will be different. But
Right.
I get it.
Yeah, so, to that point, we had this one home that had a really large dining room table. They spent almost 5 years building their house, and they had their first dinner party. And to your point earlier, no one could hear each other. So it was a mess, and that's when they found us. And so we actually retrofitted in an acoustic plaster cloud over the dining room table. But as far as costs, it was probably 3 times as much as what it would have been had it been done
If it was
in the original
of
plan.
course.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you get more of the new homes, or do you get more as your clients' existing homes? I would imagine it'd be more existing, but
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a decent amount that are trying to fix the problem
right.
rather than proactively solve it.
Like
Because,
from the beginning, yeah. It's,
yeah, and again, that kind of goes back to not knowing they have a problem at first, because we're not trained to know we have a problem as far as acoustics.
You don't know what you're looking for.
Right.
Until it's too late.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Do you also work on like music, piping in the whole house has music, all of that? Do you do that too?
So it's a great question. There's actually folks out there called audio video integrators, which I'm starting to call tech integrators, and a decent amount are living up to that. But those are the folks, and there's several in Los Angeles, there's tremendous amounts around the country, and those are the folks that we work with on a daily basis. So we actually construct the rooms, and then they're wiring the homes, putting in the speakers, they're putting in screens, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's separate. from you.
It is separate, but we do work hand in hand with those AV integrators.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The thing I'm gonna piggyback on that thought though, because there's a lot of people who think, oh, I'm gonna get the best speakers out there. I'm gonna get the C21500s or something like that. And sound waves, like the speaker is a little box. And guess what? The room is also a box. And those sound waves play in the room the same way they're coming out of that speaker. So where I go with this when I'm speaking on these things is you can have mediocre speakers in a treated room and it's going to sound amazing.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
And you could have the greatest speakers in the world in a reverberative drywall box.
And it's not gonna sound
and it's not going to sound good.
Yeah, it's very interesting. People don't, and the other thing, people hear differently. I mean, some people can't hear as well out of one ear as the other,
Right.
but I get what you're saying. I mean, you don't really know what you're missing.
Right.
This is the best way to put it.
Right. So if you really want the most bang for your buck of a sound experience, you actually treat the room.
Right.
And then, honestly, you could have almost any speakers at this point because they're all really well developed.
Sure.
So even in the home theater situation, your company and you are actually going in there and prepping the room for that, but you're not actually putting in the sound system. Someone else.
Or do you? Can you?
Well, I mean, we work with the integrators, so it's definitely a dance as far as creating the spaces where those speakers are going
You
to
have to
sit.
know what's going where, otherwise it's
Right.
not going to work.
And
Yeah.
so that's why it goes to step one, design. So we're all on that same page.
Right.
And so basically,
So each person has a job and they're going in and doing their
yeah.
thing. Mhm.
And when you're isolating that room, sound is like water. So you can wreck the entire isolation shell of a room with a pencil hole in the wall or a J-box or an electrical plug that's not sealed properly.
Okay.
So when we're doing a full level 3 isolation shell, a lot of times we're building little back boxes for those speakers so that they aren't getting up into grandma's bedroom.
Got it.
Okay.
Sound doesn't go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comes down rather.
Well, I mean, it
Stays
goes
where-
wherever you
stays where
send
it's
it,
supposed to,
basically.
yeah.
Like a lot of people talk about sound goes up or sound goes down, and honestly, it's going to go to the weakest link.
Yeah, you're isolating it and keeping it where it needs to be.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And it's something that people don't think about.
Correct.
And that's the challenge, I'm sure, to
It's a huge challenge, which is why in my title I made sure I had education.
get good.
Because
Yeah,
I
it's
do
working.
go speak on
It's
this.
working, yeah, okay.
I hope so. Let us know.
If you just joined, we are talking to Willem, who is talking to us about sound and building theaters in your home, anything to do with sensory sound and what else?
Yeah, feeling comfortable in your spaces really is what it comes down to. And again, I mentioned it a little earlier, but you can measure that room, so you can have your master bedroom be a super comfortable space.
Mm-hmm.
And again, to throw it out there, because you can Google T60 values, and some people say RT60. For the scientific people out there, it's the amount of time for 60 decibels to decrease in a room when you make a sound. And that measurement, essentially, if you get it in the right spot, again, it's going to lessen cortisol flow in the human body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions again. What's the most challenging installation you've ever done?
Christine wants to know.
Christine does?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, the first answer off the top of my head is we had a client who had an indoor basketball court. And
Here's an example of what we're talking about.
Sorry.
see, that was Jeff over there making
Yeah.
sounds.
Making too much noise. I had to shut him off.
Okay.
But we had a client who had an indoor basketball court, but they wanted it to convert to a disco for the kids at nighttime.
And keep the basketball court?
And it was the basketball court.
Okay.
So basically the basketball court was going to have all these funky lights, and it was two different ends of the spectrum. As far as a basketball court is typically all hard surfaces, things like that.
Yeah.
And if you have that, then the disco is going to be exactly what you were talking about, where you're overwhelmed by all this, the music.
You're
and
gonna miss a lot of
everything.
shots, yeah.
And so what we ended up doing was using a very hard type of acoustic treatment that could withstand errant basketballs or even soccer balls if they're playing soccer in there. And that went on the walls with a wide span fabric, a white one. And then we ended up putting LED lights in the seams of those panels. So you had LED lights all around. And then we actually put acoustic treatments in this lighting that was hanging over the basketball court as well as the ceiling. And essentially solved the puzzle, but it did take a little while to get there as far as making sure we walked the middle pathway.
That's a challenge. Yeah, that's a lot of. I would never think the two would ever work together, but all right, found a way.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. We have another question. It says, what are common mistakes people make when setting up speakers themselves?
Great question. A lot of times, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, there's some blenders you make nowadays, and they have, when we're isolating, even like pool equipment or anything like that, there's things called isolation pads, and back to the blender, like the really nice new ones have, it almost looks like these big rubber bases that the container goes onto. And if you have that speaker on a hard surface, like this table right here, or this counter, sound travels really three ways. It travels airborne, like we're speaking right now. It travels impact, like when you hear footsteps above you.
Okay.
But the really challenging one is that it travels vibrationally.
Oh.
So it excites the building structure. And so what I was going to say is if you have the speaker on this counter, well, at some point you probably hit a note or two where the frequency makes it go,
Okay.
and so
a little vibration.
Yeah, so long story short is having, I mean, in the most simple terms, having even a towel or something under your speakers if they're just sitting there.
I've heard that before. Yeah, it makes sense. There's not as much, the vibration is gone.
Right. And I mean, it depends what type of speakers, obviously, because there are some that can be used on a stand.
Wall mounted also.
Yeah, and wall mounted, like you can decouple that wall mounting so it doesn't. I was in. This is an interesting story, I hope, for you folks. I was in New York and I was on like the 30th floor, and it was about 2 a.m. and my wife was asleep, and we had two friends of ours that were on the pull-out couch, and there was construction going on, and it was killing me, and it was in the room next door.
Oh.
So 2 a.m, I'm thinking, what the heck is this? So I had to creep out and open the door next to my sleeping friends, and I go to the room next door, and I have my ear against that door, and it wasn't in there. And so I went to the room on the other side, and I couldn't find it, and so I ended up going down to the lobby at 2 a.m. The elevator door opens, and there are these construction workers in the lobby.
Jackhammering in the lobby?
I mean, it wasn't a jackhammer, but it might as well have been.
It was loud. Whatever it was loud. Okay.
But it was super loud, and that is what I was hearing
all the way up there.
All the way up there. And unfortunately, it was New York, and I talked to the desk, and they said that the work had to be completed by fire code by the next morning. Not sure if that's true or not, but they did comp me breakfast.
That's nice. While you're up.
But
and it's loud enough there as it is, but you had extra loudness.
Yeah, the point I'm making is that with the work they were doing in the lobby was exciting the building structure of that entire hotel, and I was hearing it on the 27th floor.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So sound. I mean, it's really it's a difficult animal, and it can travel.
Christine says, sounds like you had a true challenge there. And then she's saying, I installed surround sound, which worked for action movies, but not so much for calmer shows. Can I switch between the regular speakers and surround sound? For now, I disconnected them.
I love these questions. This is a lot of fun. Thank you, Christine. I would hope that there would be just a software switch where you could actually just go between the speaker settings.
Okay, so you can go from surround sound to
regular. It should be an app or setting, as he says, where you can switch it, just flip a button or whatever, push a button, and it should change it to what you need. And
yeah.
The remote will probably do that as well.
I would hope so. If not, obviously physically disconnecting the surround speakers is the the workaround. But hopefully, I don't know if you purchased those yourself or if someone helped you, but that might be a question you could put to them.
Okay.
Or just watch action movies and leave the calm stuff. That's my preference.
There you go.
But no, you raise a great point, because dialogue is found in one area, and then the explosions and the bass, and you've got all these different pieces with the high ends, and everything plays differently in different places, and
It
so
separates,
right, yeah. So I sympathize with you, and when I want to watch like an intimate film with my wife, we want it to be warm and fuzzy and cozy, and not have that surround kind of taking over the experience.
How loud can these things go to the point where it can actually damage your hearing?
Another great question. Hearing is basically the amount of exposure and the amount of time of that exposure, and the decibel level of that exposure.
So all those years you spent going to concerts and standing next to the speaker?
It's catching up to me, yeah. Guarantee you it's catching up.
Unfortunately, can absolutely have an effect on you.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw one too many.
So yeah, there's if we're gonna put it in a box, technically you never want to be in an environment where you can't hear each other just speaking like this.
Okay.
That's the hardcore reality of how it should be. Now, I am a realist, so I know that we all are going to end up in those restaurants or bars or places where there's music, weddings, you know, and so we do end up in those. And it's, to be clear and put everyone at ease, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
But with that said, concerts, like music concerts, I would recommend from here forward for anyone, earplugs are...
It just so defeats the purpose.
I know.
I get
Just
it.
don't stand next to the speaker.
No, I agree with you, and I had a great friend when we were little. We went to several concerts in Madison Square Garden, near where I grew up, and he said, you know, no, this is how I want to hear it, and it's like, okay, that's cool. You know, we all need to do ourselves, but there are, you know, different things to start looking out for or keep in mind.
The problem for me is I don't mind putting in the earplugs, but then when you're with a friend or with your husband or with your wife, you got to take that out to have any sort of any conversation. And then the other thing that really bothers me when I'm in a loud place like that and music is playing is someone who wants to talk to me and is talking in my ear, and they're louder than the music.
And they have to be for you to hear them, right?
Yeah, but I think I can hear them, but I think you just naturally talk louder when...
You absolutely do.
Yeah.
So I am not the ideal example because I do use them a lot now.
Your hearing must be remarkable. I mean,
well, no, I played in a band when I was younger, and so I did kind of learn the hard way. And so but I'm trying to be more cautious now, and really it is almost a learned idea of having those in your ears. Now, I mean, I just want to try and make it a little bit more accepted, because I agree. I hated putting them in at first, and I don't put them in all the time. But if I am going somewhere,
I pay a lot of money to go see somebody I want to see, and I want to hear them. And it's sort of like, and there are times where they're way too loud anyway, and then it's effective. But otherwise, it just feels weird blocking the sound of the band that you want to hear. But I do understand the importance of it at the same time.
And even to Christine's earlier point of how loud it is and what you're hearing, I was in a blues club in Chicago, and nowadays I put them in no matter what. My wife does not. So, but in that case, that was intimate jazz. So it becomes a personal choice at that point, you know. And also there's a degree of becoming comfortable with that.
Well, you have to protect your hearing. I mean, you know, it's important. You have to protect it. You know, I think that's a given. And I don't know if, I know you mentioned at this point, at this age, but I think you should start earlier.
Well,
you know?
to your point, in Europe, the iPhones and everything have a decibel limitation. They're way ahead of the game on wellness in Europe.
They warn you too, though, on this.
Now they warn you,
You're in a loud
which is
environment.
relatively new, yes.
Yeah.
But there's still no cutoff
Yeah, they don't-
on
right.
the volume.
They're just telling you it's loud,
So
which you
people-
probably already know. But yeah.
Right. So you know, all the people in the gym have their earbuds in, and you can hear the music yourself when you're walking by them, like you know the music going into their ears. And again, I'm not trying to kill all those ideas. Just let people know to be a little bit more careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even the ones that, you know, have it in their car and it's so loud that, you know, you can hear it all over the street. I think that's, you know, pretty harmful too, right there.
Right. In taking a step back, how the First Lady of America has always had a cause. You know, there was Just Say No and all those type things. There's usually been a cause most of the time. I feel at some point in the next 30, 40 years, one of those causes will become sound and acoustics.
Okay.
The way we now have basically disabled parking near the front of the parking lot. You know, that didn't exist when I was a kid. So there are these movements that take place. And I feel, I'm jumping around speaking about acoustics. Hopefully I can help drive that to become part of that wellness movement. It is part of it, but basically get it up in the front of that.
So what would you like people to know? I did put your website address in there, so it's Synergy
Spaces.
Sorry, Synergy Spaces, and it's spelled CINER.
G-Y.
Not G-Y.
Yeah.
So not S. Okay, so I
Right.
did put it into the comments. It's there, and if you want to, if they go on there, what will they see? How did they, like, if they want to hire you to do this, is that all information that's there for them?
It is, that information is there. I believe my phone number is right on there as well. So
Okay.
that goes right to my cell phone. What is sad about the website for me is that we have some fantastic projects that we're not allowed, or we signed
It's confidential agreement.
confidentiality agreements or NDAs, so we can't put those photos. And that's,
On there.
Well, you
that's
can tell us about here, though, right?
yeah. Well, no, I mean, we have done these wonderful projects, and so we have a decent amount of them on the website. You can definitely get an idea
Right.
of everything that we do. It's just
You
as
can't
far
even
as,
put the photos in if you don't even put their names, or?
unfortunately,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So that's a little bit sad. But I mean, the one thing I really did want to speak on today that I think anyone can benefit from is how you can treat your home, and there are budget conscious ways to do it. So you know, I mean, unfortunately that's not what I do. I do more of the elaborate bespoke type ideas. But I like to get that into people's heads that you can do that.
I love the whole podcast room idea. That's
What a
great.
neat thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Right. And the one that I'm thinking of that we did, we made it dual backdrop so that the camera, because a lot of people are recording them nowadays too, just the way we are.
Right.
And so this one you could shoot this one way, and it was like 4 people at a table with one backdrop, and then the other way was 2 low chairs with and a small table with a totally different background. But they could do those both
More
in the same.
casual and more professional looking.
Right. And all you had to do was turn the camera.
That's great. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So do you do a lot of celebrities and?
We do. Yeah.
Profile? Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of celebrities, high profile individuals, 1%ers is what I say. So that's what takes us around the country usually. Obviously there's a ton of work here in Southern California, but up in Silicon Valley, there's a lot of work we're doing there. So we do probably 70% of our work in California, and then we do go to these other spaces around the country. And typically, to say it, acoustic construction is completely counterintuitive to general construction. Like general construction is hammer it down, make it solid, and if you do that, you're blowing everything. So we specialize in acoustic construction, and the best clients on the big scale are the ones that tried to do it themselves one way or another and completely blew it. So So we've had projects where we came in and everything that was done previously had to be ripped out because
Wow.
it wasn't working.
Wow, that's a lot of work. And then having to correct someone else's stuff is not fun either.
Right.
Wow.
Well, you'll have to come to our next meeting, our Culver City Biz meeting, and hopefully people, you'll meet some nice people and be able to talk about it some more.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Love to.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah, I do too. This is really good. It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot to
It is
take
a lot
in,
to
and
take
I
in.
try to go easy, but there's so
when
much
you put
to
it all
cover.
together, you get the picture. Which is
Yeah, I mean,
Wonderful.
a lot of it is sort of a science, that's behind it, but your explanations were great, and so I think that everybody seemed to also be following along
Yeah.
pretty well, so that's great.
very nice.
Wonderful.
So this is Willem, and he has been telling us about sound acoustics, and if you are interested in any of this, if you're watching this on the rerun, you can still ask the questions and we will answer them for you. And what else can I tell you? Next month, April 9th is our next event, and it's going to be hosted by Mitzi Hansen, and it will be held in the marina at the Style Den, which is right on Maxella right near the Yard House restaurant, if you know where that is. It's like downstairs, right next door. So that's where we'll be on April 9th at 4:30 p.m. And come join us. The in-person events are great because you meet a lot of wonderful people. You sometimes get the microphone in your hand for a 1-minute elevator pitch.
What's happening?
So it's all good, and you can put your business in front of a lot of people. And we thank you today for coming on.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. If
Very
you
nice.
guys are
Thank you.
interested in coming on to our video here, please let me know, and I'm happy to put you into the queue. And what else?
I
Anything
think
else?
we're good. Have a great weekend, I guess is what's left. What do you think?
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Willem. Thanks so much for coming. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And you guys all have a great weekend. Happy Friday to everyone. Enjoy.
And a good
See you
St.
next
Patrick's
week.